All right, today's video is going to be about the lesson F test review. So if you haven't printed that off or don't have that, I suggest you do that. If you haven't started working through it, I also suggest doing that. That way you're just not hearing me go through it. You've actually tried and you can pinpoint some of your errors. So let me share my document camera here and we will get going through that review. So word problems on this test are going to be kind of a big deal. So that's why I've kind of started off here with a couple of them. And I may not have enough room on this sheet to do the word problems or to do the problems. So I'll be kind of flipping back and forth from sheets. So the school is 50 feet tall. Miss Nichols wants to throw her geometry book on top of the school while she is 15 feet from the building. What is her minimum distance the book will travel? Okay, so we need to draw a picture as to what's going on here. So you have a school building that is 50 feet tall. And she's going to throw her book on top of it. She's 15 feet from the building. So she's right here. She's going to throw the book up here on top of the building. So what's the minimum distance the book has to travel? So you're looking for this x, the hypotenuse. In order to do that, we use the Pythagorean theorem, which would be 15 squared plus 50 squared equals x squared. So the hypotenuse is always on a side by itself. So you may need a calculator for calculating some of these numbers, but 15 squared is 225. And 50 squared is 2,500 equals x squared. Add those together, you get 2725 equals x squared. Take the square root of that. Okay, and you actually get a decimal. So we need to see if we can break it down. So I'm going to divide by 5. And you get 545. We can divide by 5 again. 109. Let's try some numbers with 109. I think 109 might be a prime number here. Yeah, okay. So we got a group of 5s and 109. So that would be 5 square root of 109. So it might ask it that way. It might say, what is the decimal? So in that case, the decimal is 52.20. Okay, and feet would be your label. All right, so I have an entertainment center that has a 42 by 42 inch opening. So if we draw that up here, it's a square. It's 42 by 42. And the opening, the center will hold a TV up to 100 pounds. I just bought a 55-inch TV that is 30 inches tall. Will it fit? Okay, now when you buy a TV, the TV measurement is actually the diagonal from one corner to the other. Okay, and that's 55 inches. And then I say that it's 30 inches tall. Okay, so the 30 inches tall will fit, but I have to figure out if this line right here is less than 42 or not. So again, we're using the Pythagorean theorem. So 30 squared plus x squared equals 55 squared. So 30 squared is 900 plus x squared equals 55 squared is 3025. Subtract the 900. X squared equals 2125. And then we got to square root that. So if I take the square root of that number, X is about 46.10. Okay, so this length here is 46.10, which is greater than the 42, so it will not fit. So no, it's 46 inches wide. And this one was 52.20 feet. If I want to put a fence around my property, how many feet would I need? So we need to find the perimeter of this thing. I have this and this, I need this. So x squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. X squared plus 64 equals 100. So subtract 64 is 36. Take the square root, and the square root of 36 is 6. So this is 6, but I still need the perimeter. So you have 10 plus 8 plus 6 is 24 feet. So you'll need 24 feet of fencing to go around that perimeter. Okay, on these, find the exact value. So some of these are special right triangles, or we need to use Pythagorean theorem or something. So here we've got the Pythagorean theorem, find this hypotenuse. So that's 9 squared plus 13 squared equals x squared. Usually when they say find exact values, they don't want a decimal and they don't want you to round. Okay, so 9 squared is 81. 13 squared is 169 equals x squared. So 181 plus 169 is 250. And then take the square root of that. So you get the square root of 250, which is a decimal, but we got to break this down. That's 25 and 10, 5, 5, 5, 2. So there's your group of fives. You got a 2 and a 5 left over. So you have 5 radical 10. Okay, I'm going to draw this one out on a separate sheet of paper here. Okay, we'll just do it over here. So you've got a small, medium, large triangle. Okay, in your small one, you got, you have 4 and x. In your medium one, you have x and 9. And your large one, you don't really have anything here. So here's your ratios. So you got 4 over x equals x over 9. Multiply the whole thing by your common denominator is 9x. So your x's cancel here with the first one, and you have 9 times 4, which is 36. Your 9's cancel here, which is x squared. Then you square root, and you get 6 equals x. So in this case, x equals 6. Okay, here we actually have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And I know that because these two sides are identical. Therefore, these two angles have to be the same. And in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, if I go from a leg to a hypotenuse, I just multiply by radical 2. So 6 times radical 2 is 6 radical 2. So it might be helpful to know your formula triangle, which is x, x, x radical 2. Here I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So that formula, 2x, x, x radical 3, 60, 30, 90. Okay, so I have the hypotenuse. Going from hypotenuse to a leg, I divide by 2. So x is 4. Then going from this leg to the other leg, I multiply by radical 3. So I get 4 radical 3. Okay, so those are the exact values there for those items. Again, no decimals are wanted when it talks about exact values. Okay. What type of triangles do these make? Now, the first thing you got to figure out is it a triangle? So in order to determine if it's a triangle, you have to take your two smaller numbers, add them up, and it should be greater. It should be greater than your bigger number, your biggest number. Okay. So if I take 3 and 4, I get 7. That is bigger than 6. So we're going to have a triangle. If I take 7 and 7, I get 14. That is bigger than 8. So we do have a triangle. If I have here, I've got 13, 18, and 3 radical 55. Well, 3 radical 55 is 22 point something. And if I take 13 and 18, I will get more than 22. So all of these do make a triangle. So then we're going to take the smallest 2, so 3 squared plus 4 squared. And how does that relate to 6 squared? So the longest. So 7 squared plus 8 squared. 7 squared. How does that relate to 8 squared? And then we'll do this. Remember, this was 22.4.25 something. So it's the largest. So you got 13 squared plus 18 squared. How does that relate to 3 radical 55 squared? Okay, so 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 6 squared is 36. So 9 plus 16 is 25, which is less than 36. Okay, if you remember in our notebook, I'll show you the page here. If you remember in our notebook, we wrote these down somewhere. Here it is. Okay, we wrote it down here. So if they're equal, you have a right triangle. If it's greater than, you have an acute angle. And if it's less than, your legs squared or less than, it's an obtuse angle. So here we have a less than. So this is an obtuse triangle. Okay, so make sure you're using this notebook as a resource for you. Okay, we got 7 squared is 49 plus 49. 8 squared is 64. So 49 plus 49 is 98, is greater than 64. So when it's greater than, that would be acute triangle. And the last one here, you might need a calculator for, and we can type 13 squared plus 18 squared. So this whole side is 493. And this side, we'll put it in parentheses, 3 radical 55 squared, 495. So that is a less than. So your legs are less than. That again is your obtuse triangle. Okay, and if they're equal, it's a right triangle. Okay, find the length of the dotted line. So we're looking for this line right here. which means I need to form a triangle here and find these sides. So this long side here is 23, but over here it's 7. So 23 minus 7 is 16. And then this is 27, but you got to take away the 15 there. That's 12. So your right triangle is 12, 16, and you got to find the other one. So you get 12 squared plus 16 squared equals x squared. So 12 squared is 144. 16 squared is 256. And if you add those, you get 400. And then you got to take the square root. Which is 20. So this length right here is just 20. So they could give you a weird picture. Okay, could give you a weird picture. So just see if you could find the sides of your triangles. Okay, here we're solving the triangle. So I need to find all the angles and all the sides. So I'm gonna find this angle right here first. That would be 180 minus 90 from that angle, minus 37. So 180 minus 90 is 90. 90 minus 37 is 53. So this angle right there is 53 degrees. Now I don't want to use that to find the sides. Okay, we're going to label this X and Y. So if I want to find X first, that's the hypotenuse, 6 is the adjacent. So that would mean I use cosine of 37 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So we'll multiply by X. And then X cosine of 37 equals 6. And we'll divide by cosine of 37. So X is about, so we have 6 divided by cosine of 37. 7.51. Okay, there's one side. Now to find Y, you have 37, that's the opposite and adjacent. So that would be tangent. So you have tangent of 37 equals opposite over adjacent. So multiply by 6. So 6 tangent of 37. 6 tangent of 37, which is about 4.52. So make sure you know when to use sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, that name there may help you out, that SOHCAHTOA. Okay, the length of a hill in your neighborhood is 2,000 feet. The height of the hill is 750 feet. What is the angle of elevation? So we're looking for this angle right here. Okay, X, so that's opposite and hypotenuse. So that's sine of X equals 750 over 2,000. So in order to get rid of sine, I do the inverse of both sides. So X equals the inverse sine of 750 over 2,000. So the inverse sine of 750 over 2,000, which is about 22.02 degrees. Okay, sometimes on the test, they may say round to the nearest degree. So we'd just be going to 22 in that case. Okay, if tangent of A is 55 over 48, find cosine of A. So I'm actually going to draw this out on the other piece of paper here. So I have this triangle, right triangle, with angle A in it. So there's A. And if tangent of A, so tangent A equals 55 over 48. So this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. So the opposite is 55, The adjacent is 48. Okay. So now I need to find cosine of A, which is adjacent. So you're 48 over your hypotenuse, but I don't have the hypotenuse, so I'm going to have to find it. So it'd be 55 squared plus 48 squared equals x squared. So if I add these two up, 55 squared plus 48 squared, that's 5329. And then I got to take the square root of that. Which is 73. So this is 73. So 73. So cosine of A is 48 over 73. Find the angle in the following triangles. Okay, so here's the angle. We have opposite and hypotenuse. So that's sine of x equals 26 over 33. To get rid of sine, I take the inverse. So x equals the inverse sine of 26 over 33. So the inverse sine of 26 over 33. Which if you get this number, 51.987, so 51.99. Likely they'll say go to the nearest degree, so that'd be 52. Here we have opposite and adjacent, so that's tangent. 13 over 16, so we got to take the inverse tangent. 13 over 16. So the inverse tangent, 13 over 16. 39.09. And the last one here, you have the adjacent and hypotenuse. That's cosine. Adjacent 20 over 23. To get rid of cosine, I take the inverse. So x equals the inverse cosine of 20 over 23. You get 29.59. All right, so find the side length in the following triangles. So still sine, cosine, tangent, but we're looking for a side here. So here's my angle. This is opposite and hypotenuse. So that's sine of 59 equals x over 17. Okay, so multiply by 17. So 17 sine of 59 equals x. So 17 sine of 59. And you get about 14.57. Okay, here's your angle. You got opposite and adjacent. That's tangent of 40 equals 20 over x. So you're going to multiply by x. And then you're going to divide by tangent of 40. So that becomes 20 divided by tangent of 40. So 20 divided by tangent of 40 to 3.84 about. Here you have adjacent and hypotenuse. So that's cosine of 51, 10 over x. Multiply by x. Divide by cosine of 51. So x is about 10 divided by cosine of 51. Whoop. 10 divided by cosine of 51. That would be 15.89. All right, I got two problems left. You notice that your shadow is 10 feet long while you are 5 foot 10 inches. what is the angle of elevation of the sun? Well, this one's in feet, this one's in feet and inches. So we need to get them into the same. Okay, well, let's get them both into feet. 5 feet, 10 inches would be 5 and 10 over 12 inches, which 10 over 12 is 0.83 repeating. So we got 5.83 repeating. Okay, now we can actually use this 10 over 12 in the problem. I'll show you how to do that on the calculator. What is the angle of elevation? So you're looking for this angle right here. That's opposite and adjacent. So that's tangent of x equals 5 and 10 twelfths over 10. Okay, so we want the inverse tangent of 5 and 10 twelfths over 10. Okay, so let's do this on the calculator together here. So I want 5 and 10 twelfths. This was 10 twelfths plus 5. Okay, we get that. And I can divide that by 10. Okay, let me clear it all out to walk you through it. So we're going to start with our fraction. That's 10 divided by 12. That's at decimal. And the reason why I just don't put 5.83 is because this repeats on forever. So we're going to add 5 to that because it's 5 and 10 twelfths. Then we're going to divide that by 10 because it's right here. And then we're going to take the inverse tangent of that. So second inverse, and then we want that answer right there. So you get about 30.26 degrees. And the last one here, what are 4 ways to find sides and 4 ways to find angles? So sides, angles. Okay, 4 ways to find sides would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's the Pythagorean theorem. Or you could use sine, cosine, tangent. To find angles, you're going to subtract from 180. Or you can use inverse sine, inverse cosine, or inverse tangent. Okay, those are your 4 ways. So you really need to know these things for this next test and how to use them. All right, that goes through the review. So make sure you're working through that, studying it. If you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know. Great or good luck on your test, and I'll see you in the next unit.